Welcome into KC Sports Tonight, Wednesday, May 27th. A lot to talk about today, Gabe. And we're going to start with, I think, maybe the funniest thing on here. The most fun, I should say, because why not start with the most fun when we could be talking about the Royals? Travis Kelce is now a minority owner of the Cleveland Guardians, which AL Central team, rival of the Royals. Also kind of puts him against his teammate and best friend, Patrick Mahomes, who's a minority owner of the Royals. Not super surprising to me that Kelce buys the team in Cleveland because he's, Cleveland Heights native and loves that city. But kind of funny, Patrick Mahomes had a really funny response to it on Twitter today by posting a video of the last time Kelce threw out the first pitch at a Guardians game, and it was a spike.
Yes. And after he did that, the Royals actually hosted him either later that year
I remember that.
or I think it was later that year. And a bunch of his teammates came out. They pointed the signs of throw it here, and he actually threw a strike. So good for him. This is one of those things where it gets the headlines. It gets the attention of people because it's a high-profile person purchasing a minority ownership stake. Who knows what percentage of the stake of the team is? It's probably a very, very, very small portion of the Guardians. But I think, Saturday night he was in Cleveland watching his Cavs get drubbed in the Eastern Conference Finals. So
brutal.
I think that anybody who is a Kansas Cityan who can appreciate the rooting for your teams even when through good and bad can appreciate Travis Kelce and the apparent fandom that he has for his hometown teams, even though he has not lived in Cleveland since he was in high school. And just his willingness to go back there, his willingness to show Taylor Swift around there, I guess, is good for him.
This is so equivalent to last year during the NBA Finals when the Eastern Conference Finals, I think, when Timothée Chalamet was dragging Kylie Jenner to all the games against the Pacers in Indiana, and that's how I felt looking at Travis and Taylor sitting on the sidelines of Cleveland. She's like, wow, I started dating this guy and now I'm in Cleveland, Ohio. So I thought that was funny.
Subjecting yourself to James Harden playoff games. So there's that. But I think it's cool. I'm sure that Travis and Patrick have had have had a couple conversations ribbing each other for their teams. Travis definitely currently has the upper hand based on the consistent winning that the Guardians have done compared to the Royals. Which I'm sure we're about to talk about. So there is that, but good for Travis Kelce. I think that as his career winds down, more of these type of things come up. I also think that the other thing is it's very cool that Mahomes owns a portion of the Royals, considering he's not from here. Yeah. And there's the juxtaposition of an athlete like Mahomes who has immersed himself in Kansas City and been part of the Royals and Sporting, and he and his wife have taken over a portion of the current. So there's that, and then there's admiring Kelce for still being a hometown guy from a place like Cleveland. Both of those things are cool.
There are two ends of the spectrum that you really can't get mad at either. I'm sure there are plenty of Chiefs fans who would love to see Kelce do that type of stuff with the teams here, but I don't think you can really get mad at either. Both things are cool for sure. And the Guardians and the Royals don't play again for a while. They play in Cleveland at the end of August, I believe. And then the Guardians are the Royals' final game of the regular season. That's assuming maybe there's more than that.
No, there won't be. There will not be. Barring a complete
it could start tonight.
Turnaround.
But then the Guardians will be here at the K the final week of the season and the final week of September. That's kind of the only time we can really look for that rivalry to kind of maybe see Mahomes and Kelce poke some fun at each other. So we'll keep our eyes peeled for that for sure. But that brings us to the Royals, falling 15-1 to the Yankees in Game 2 of their series last night. Yankees come back in the bottom of the ninth to win Game 1, 4-3. Top of the ninth. And then, of course, the Yankees it was pretty much over by the end of by halfway through the first inning, I should say. Last night, Yankees put 4 runs on the board, the only run that the Royals could put on the entire night. Was a homer from Bobby Witt Jr., solo homer. So that's, at least that was something that I was there at the game. That was one of the few things that had fans actually excited and happy. So that was kind of a cool moment. But other than that, there were a lot of Yankees fans there, so it was kind of hard to tell. If you were looking at down at your phone or something and something happened, you actually had to look up and be wait, why are we cheering? Because that's how many Yankees fans were there yesterday. But yeah, just really a bad performance. They end up putting Tyler Tolbert on the mound to throw some 44-mile-per-hour fastballs in the 8th inning and the 9th inning. So just a bad night at the K. The weather, however, was at least it was a good night at the ballpark. People had stuff to do other than watch baseball.
This is the thing. It's May 27th. We should not have to say at least there was nice weather at the ballpark.
At least it was nice weather.
This is the thing that I think has frustrated people in this town so much. And talking to people who have watched a lot of bad Royals baseball, the thing that's worse than bad Royals baseball is bad Royals baseball that is accompanied by expectations of better. Yeah. And this team had expectations for better. I have been saying for the last several weeks that someone has to answer for the issues, and that the thing that is driving this fan base seemingly the most nuts every night when the lineup graphic gets posted on social media and people start responding, oh, we're trying the same thing over and over again, is the lack of attempts, it feels like, for different things. Well, today, Bailey Falter gets designated for assignment.
Yes.
So
I'm
sure you were there, Katie, so you literally watched this happen in person. You watched the line drives and hard hit batted balls happen throughout the first inning.
Yeah.
I was curious because I was watching it here at the station last night, and it felt like every single ball was just absolutely smoked.
Yeah.
So in the first inning, Bailey Falter threw 16 pitches. He gave up 4 runs. He almost got out of the inning with 1 run allowed. Yeah. Jack Caglione had kind of a snow cone catch, which you could debate whether he had it or didn't have it. Predictably, a replay review involving the Yankees and the Royals went New York's way. Where have we seen that before? 2024 playoffs? Okay, but 7 batters, and I went to StatCast and checked this out. The exit velocities in the first inning, 92.8, 109.6, 105.1, 106.2, 107.4, 101.2, 105.9. So 2 of the 3 outs were guys who hit the ball harder than 105 miles an hour. And just beyond the nerd analytic part of that, it looked like that all night long. The broadcasters, Ryan Lefevre and Jeremy Guthrie, were talking about, it looks like he might be tipping pitches. After the game, I don't know if you saw these comments, Bailey Falter talking about feeling like his role was up in the air and he didn't know when he was going to pitch. I feel like that contributed in some way, shape, or form to them designating him for assignment today, because based on all other evidence that this organization has presented us this year, they have not been quick to dump players or dump coaching staff. They haven't done anything in that realm yet. And nothing else has crazily changed. So to have such an abrupt cut to Bailey Falter when you don't really have many better options. Mason Black is not some world beater who's coming up from AAA to replace him. And yes, Chris Bubich will come off the IL soon. It just feels like to me his comments are the reason that they really got rid of him, because they figured if you're going to be a poor performer and you're going to complain about your role as you have done nothing to deserve a better role.
After he got a starting nod.
A starting nod in a spot where the starting rotation has had several guys go on the IL and they've needed bullpen spots. They've tried Luinder Avila. They've tried Bailey Falter. Neither one has had crazy success. But in 4 of his 5 appearances this year, he's allowed multiple earned runs. And his earned run average for the year was 10.3 entering last night, and it went up to 12.3. There's just – it was brutal stuff to watch. And I don't know if the tweet that went around when Mike Trout used to dominate for the Angels and people would say, oh, Mike Trout has broken this record and Shohei Ohtani has done this thing that's never happened before, and the Angels lost 8-3. It's starting to feel like that for the Royals with Bobby Witt Jr.
Yeah, it's like last night was just, I think, maybe the lowest point of the season. I think we could argue it was the worst game of the season, and I think a lot of fans would agree with that. But also just now they just have to play for pride tonight. Like if they just get dominated again tonight, like it's just not going to be good. And honestly, I'll hand it to Royals fans because like they didn't leave. Like, you know, when you see the mass exodus, usually when you know the game is going to be over in like the 8th or the 9th inning or whatever, they didn't leave until the 7th inning. Like that's when I saw the mass exodus of everyone start walking up. Because they took Bobby Witt Jr. out and, you know, Cags got put at first and they took Michael out and, you know, waved the white flag. But I'll hand it to Royals fans. They stuck around. They watched the brutality happen for 7 innings. And it just felt like, I mean, from right away, it just wasn't off to a good start. And I think you could just tell, like I said, it was over in the first inning. But yeah, I agree with you. Like we've seen the Royals give a lot of chances and try the same thing over and over again. You can call it a definition of insanity. To me, when you're on that staff, that pitching staff, and you know there are holes in the starting rotation, you know there's going to have to be like your number gets called and you know you're going to have to show up and do those things, and then you still make those comments, it's just not going to make anyone like you. So it's not going to do you any good. So yeah, I agree with you there. Definitely had something to do with probably him getting designated for assignment today. Yeah. So yeah, it just, like I said, this was a really, really low point in the Royals season, the lowest point. They can play for some pride tonight, but it's not going to, you know, at this point you kind of just say, okay, they're not doing anything after this.
Yeah, it's his time in Kansas City was a pretty significant failure, and I think that it stands out to me. I think it is the most it's crazier because it feels like Brian Sweeney for the most part has had success with most everyone who has touched a mound as a starting pitcher at different times. And Bailey Falter was brought over from the Pirates at times. He didn't really have a spot in the rotation, so I guess you can feel bad for him in that realm that like his role was different. But even in limited appearances, it has not gone well. And you juxtapose that to a guy like Daniel Lynch, who used to be a starter and then gets thrown in the bullpen and has gotten better and better and better and upped his role. There's not much excuse for it. So
yeah, 24 hits for the Yankees last night. They set a record for their club with every member of the starting lineup getting 2 hits. So just not a stat when you're a Royals fan that you want happening against you. So yeah, we'll see if they can turn it around. You can tune into our 6 o'clock sports block. We are going to have live pregame coverage from Neil Jones talking about, you know, what he's heard from Mac Quachero today. He talked to him in the dugout earlier before tonight's game. So you're going to want to tune in for that, hear how the Royals are feeling after this one. Because it's just not good when you got Tyler Tolbert out there throwing 44-mile-per-hour fastballs. And to make matters worse, it was Pasquatch night. I got my bobblehead. It's going to sit proudly on my desk now. But on the bright side, at least Vinny got a hit. So we did get to see the Pasquatch. And then I didn't stay till the end of the game. I left when the 9th started. So I didn't get to see what the sax squatch concert was, but yesterday on the show, me and Marlia were talking about, we were very intrigued by what the heck that was. It wasn't the Pasquatch. It had to have been a different guy. And he spoke, breaking the number one cardinal rule of a mascot figure. And then he played the saxophone, but didn't actually play the saxophone personally. However, if you went to that concert after the game, if you are one of the few that stuck around for after the game last night, please tell us.
I feel bad for you.
Yeah, please tell us what happened. And I'm personally a big believer in, like, if I paid for a ticket, like, I'm staying for the full game. But when both teams take out most of their starters by the 8th inning, I'm gonna bow out probably.
Yeah.
I wanted ice cream, so I went and got some ice cream. But yeah, more Royals coverage tonight. We'll see if they can kind of play for pride tonight. We've got a little bit of Chiefs news today. OTAs are, of course, happening right now, but we won't have our first media availability at OTAs until tomorrow. Neil Jones will be there. You can tune into our newscast tomorrow for all his coverage from that. We have seen videos from the Chiefs of Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball around. He's got a giant robot brace on his knee. Obviously OTAs is not contact, so like no one's hitting him, so he's just kind of doing his own thing right now. The other big storyline that we're looking out for tomorrow is the fact that what is Andy Reid and company going to say about Rashee Rice is not there. He's currently serving jail time for violating his probation. But a little bit of cap space news. The Chiefs have converted $9.685 million of George Karlaftis' salary into a signing bonus and creating $7.7 million of cap space. So now Kansas City is going to carry an estimated $13 million of cap space into June. They still do have to work out deals with, like, officially get pen to paper with Mansour Delane and Peter Woods. How do you feel about how cap space situation is looking now, Gabe?
I think that the Rashee Rice situation and I think that the defensive end situation, either one of those lend themselves to, you would think that the Chiefs might want to make an addition. And if they're going to do that, if they're going to add someone, whether that's Stephon Diggs or Cam Jordan, for either of those routes, they're going to need some money to do it. They would not have had the money to sign the rookies, so they had to restructure somebody to sign those two rookies. Based on just the salary slot of the 6th overall pick and the 29th overall pick, that's roughly $10 million. And to get into like the nitty gritty of the NFL salary cap and the way that it works in the offseason, they only count the top 51 players, not your top 53. So once those guys sign, it essentially drops off a couple salaries at the bottom of the table. So it's not an exact – they're not just filling empty spots. It's not just $10 million going into there and they'll have $3 million after.
Yeah.
There will be probably $3.5 to $4 million left over. Brett Veach, who knows if he even makes an addition? Because I don't know. The Chiefs have typically signaled, at least over the last couple of years, that they're comfortable with Rashee Rice as their wide receiver one and that they're comfortable with the current wide receiver room. So I don't know, but this is the time of year that we get those restructure announcements and they move some things around. Yeah. Congrats to George Karlaftis on getting a nice $10 million signing bonus.
You get a $10 million signing bonus.
So there's that. I don't think that this is like significant news, but this is the Chiefs news that we get on May 27th.
Yes.
And the Chiefs news that we get the day before we hear from some people at the Chiefs facility tomorrow, which I am sure that a lot of news will be, or a lot will be taken from what is or is not said tomorrow at the facility.
Yes, we are all eagerly awaiting Andy Reid's comments because he's going to get the question. And as well, just hear how Patrick Mahomes is doing, hear how Kenneth Walker III is doing. I'm excited to hear about that. And remember, these are voluntary OTAs, so everyone who is there by choice. So another little interesting tidbit for you. College football kickoff times for weeks 1 through 3 were released today. We already knew a good chunk of this. For example, we knew the Border War was going to be a Friday night at 7 o'clock, which I hate and I think is bad. As I'm remembering it, I'm like, oh, that sucks. And yeah. But yeah, we now know that the Jayhawks will just go through KU, Mizzou, K-State, KU kicking off the season on Friday, September 4th at home. That's at 7 o'clock. They will then play another Friday game at home the next week against Mizzou. And then they will go to Wembley Stadium for an 11 a.m. kickoff the following Saturday. So do with that what you will, Jayhawks. As for Mizzou, they're going to open the season on a Thursday, September 3rd at 7 p.m. At home. They are then, of course, going to travel to Lawrence the next week, Friday night at 7. And then, wait, where's game 3? I'm reading off my phone in case you guys couldn't tell. They didn't announce their game 3.
Yeah, I don't know I think that might be a conference game.
Yeah, they didn't announce their game 3.
And then K-State got the first 3 games of the Colin Klein era. They do the typical Saturday night 6 o'clock opener against Nichols.
Yep.
And then 11 a.m. the next 2 weeks against Washington State and Tulane.
Yes.
I think that this is one of the interesting things is that game 3 that is in London between KU and Arizona State, because typically when those games are being played overseas, we've had K-State and Iowa State played in the game last year in Ireland. Mm-hmm. But typically it is either in week 0, so it's the only big game of that day that's worth paying attention to, or it's NFL style and it's 8 a.m., 9 a.m. in the morning before the full slate of college games starts. This one is being played at 5 p.m. local time in London, so it's 11 a.m. So it's part of the noon slate of when the College Game Day show wraps up and 8 to 10 games kick off across the country. KU and Arizona State will play at that time in London. I feel like part of the allure of these international games is to play them in unique TV windows and play them in a spot where as many people as possible are going to watch them. I have not talked to any Big 12 officials or any KU officials about this. I wonder if it's impacted by the fact that Arizona State is out west and body clocks, you're already at 9 a.m. local time feel for them. But this was kind of my biggest complaint about this game as somebody who went to Arizona State and also has followed KU super closely is what are we going over to England for the sake of if it's not a nationally exclusive television window that's actually going to be watched by a ton of people? If it's going to go up against big noon kickoff and some Ohio State game, then what are we actually getting out of it?
No.
And was one of the reasons that I pushed back on the jolly celebration of everybody being like, oh, it's Union Jack Classic. Jolly. So I'm not super thrilled about that part, but
if I were a Jayhawk fan, I would just kind of hate the schedule that they have for the first 3 weeks.
Friday, and then
England. Friday, and then England at 11 a.m. with the rest of the country playing. Like, it just stinks. I mean, starting the season on a Friday night, nothing new. That the Jayhawks have been doing that for years. It's still early into the school year. And when I say a lot of this stuff, like, none of this is really impacting students. Like, none of them have class at 7 o'clock on a Friday night. So, like, they're fine. But I think having so many Friday games is bad for the sport and also just, like, your fans. Because, like, here's the thing. Where I'm from in the Northeast, people don't really care about high school sports. Like, if you have a kid on the football team, or, like, you have a friend on the football team, you might be at that football game. If your local college football team is playing on a Friday night, you're probably choosing the college football team. Here out in Kansas and Missouri, they're choosing the high school. Like, if they are connected to their high school, they are going to choose that. And maybe I watched it happen this past year when like I think when KU played their last Friday night game, I was at high school football games covering them, and people just had their phones like on them in the seats. But like the butts are not in the booth. Like they're not going to, like, I'm sure they'll still pack the booth because Missouri fans will travel and all that stuff. And like, it'll be fine, but it's bad for the sport. You get less attention on the game because like high school sports is something that people have to dedicate their time to. You get less media coverage because all of us TV stations here in the area and in Topeka and in Wichita and Columbia have sponsored Friday night high school football shows. Like, it's bad for kind of everybody involved, except for the school who makes money for getting that primetime Friday night slot. But
this
that's
is what
my soapbox on that.
When the NFL eats into college football's territory on Saturdays in December and throughout the college football playoff, is college football reacts by going into high schools with Friday nights. And I also think KU officials would say, hey, a Friday night game, because they moved it from Saturday to Friday, the Mizzou game, allows us to get to England earlier and get our body clocks on that time quicker. So that's probably the argument.
Maybe then you should just go to England week 0.
This is, again, it's May 27th, and this is why we complain about and talk about kickoff times, because the other option is talking about bad baseball.
Boo. 15-1, 24 hits. So yeah, all of the information about those kickoffs is on our KCTV5 sports page online. And yeah, we will of course find out the rest of the kickoff times during the season this fall. Quickly before we go, the KC Current have one final game before their international break, which is just the World Cup break. Basically, and they get the perk of doing it at home. They are undefeated at home this season. They have not lost a home game since July of 2024. They are looking to make that 23 straight unbeaten games at home this Saturday at 12:30 when they host Boston. And Gabe, they've really turned the page around from a very bad start to the season to now they're in 6th place in the league.
And part of that is just that Temwa Chewinga has gotten back to being a great player. And sometimes it's as simple as that. But, yeah, this international break is the whole international break of the Current and Sporting KC, I think is going to have people dial in on World Cup time, which we're fast approaching. And the Current have started to pave the orange carpet or roll out the orange carpet for the Netherlands as well. So that is coming up. But yes, it's good to see that the Current are getting on a better track of things after a slow start to the new era.
Yeah. Our KCTV5 soccer analyst, Roger Espinosa, Sporting KC legend, World Cup vet, he was showing me a video when he was here in the studio the other day of how Sporting's facility is looking, all primed and ready for Argentina, and the field looks great. So yeah, something to look forward to. Roger's going to tell us more about that the next time he's in for our next streaming episode. You can watch our current streaming episode on KCTV5 Plus right now, however, though. But yeah, that's going to do it for us here on KC Sports tonight. We'll see you back here at 5:30 tomorrow. And of course, remember to tune in 6 o'clock sports for Neil Jones live pregame coverage. Adios.